Have you ever listened to us and thought, how could I share all of this information with my kids?
Well, we have a new best friend, Rachel Kushner of Links to Messiah, and even better, she's from Kentucky.
Every tribe, every tongue, Emmanuel, your king shall come. End of sorrows, end of pain, come and praise Creator's name.
Hey, Shalom Chavarim. Welcome to this episode of the Jewish Road Podcast. Before we jump into our interview with our good new best friend, Rachel Kushner, we wanted to let you in on something that she has made available really just for this summer, and it has everything to do with Shabbat.
Yeah, and if you're wondering, Shabbat is actually Hebrew, means the Sabbath. And I recall as a young believer, us gathering around our table every Friday night at sundown with the kids, and now we do it with the grandkids, and we said the traditional prayers and brought in a time of rest for observing the Sabbath, the Shabbat of God.
Yeah, and so I was there at that table and got to reap the benefits of that, and we have incorporated that into our home, and so this is something that we do. But if you don't come from a Jewish perspective and you have a Christian household, you're probably wondering, well, how do we actually do this? How do we make it simple? How do we actually engage our kids? And that is where Rachel and Links to the Messiah comes in, right?
Yeah, she has produced and curated a box that is just filled with everything you need to create a meaningful Shabbat experience right in your own home. Every box is filled with activities that the kids can do, that you can do together with them. Children will design their own wooden Shabbat candle holders and decorate challah covers.
And there's games and there's stickers and other crafts are included. You know, we are not the fun children's ministry version. We maybe at one point in our life.
We're not fun?
Not anymore. But Rachel, for whatever reason, man, she is a lightning rod, and she is, I mean, you'll get to hear this on this episode, this interview that we did with her, nonstop energy. The Lord has given her energy and creativity, and you will see that when you open this box, your kids are going to go crazy. They're going to love it. We call it meshugana. That's the better word, right?
Yeah, that's good. So if you want to learn more, just head over to linkstoMessiah.com and grab one for your family.
Yeah, so enjoy this and enjoy this interview, this conversation. We guarantee that by the end of this conversation with Rachel, you'll say, oh, wow, this is fun. And you're going to get to zoom in on what she's up to and bring that into your own. So listen up. Here we go. Hey, welcome to the Jewish Road Podcast. My name is Matt Davis, and...
Hey.
Is that all we got? I'm looking at you over there.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm known by several names.
Oh, yeah. Which one are we going by today?
I don't know. I feel like Tommy Smothers.
All right, I'm going to help you out. This is Ron Davis.
Ronnie J.
Ronnie J, that's right. And we are here, thank goodness, we're here with our newest and best friend, Rachel Kushner. Hi, Rachel.
That's right. New and best friend. I love that. I'll take it.
We had the opportunity to be on your podcast, and we had so much fun that we said, let's do it again and have you on our podcast. So welcome.
It was so much fun, and I thank you for coming. And actually, it was just released this week, and I've gotten some great feedback, and people love what you have to say.
Well, it could have gone either way. We're high-risk guests when it comes to showing up on people's podcasts.
You never can tell what's going to come out.
You never know what's coming out of Ron's mouth next.
It's
or
a
Matt's.
part of
Matt's
being
got all the
Jewish,
ideas
you know?
percolating in his brain.
We don't even know what's going to come out next. I mean, that's the scary part of being us, right?
Right.
Well, hey, we love that you're right up the road from us in Louisville. It's not Louisville or Louisville. It's like
Correct.
you swallow your tongue as you say it.
Louisville.
Louisville.
Oh,
There you
I
go.
can't even say that.
Yeah, everything is.
Louisville.
Oh, goes against my
Louisville.
grain.
Yeah, and it's not Versailles, Kentucky.
It's Versailles. Versailles.
Sales. That is the
Versailles.
most hilarious thing. We were at a restaurant one time there, and we kept asking the waitress something. We would say Versailles, and she kept correcting us, Versailles. And my husband and I just looked at each other. I said, "Well, I guess we're in Versailles, Kentucky."
Yeah.
Oh,
And you know you're a citizen of the state when other people come and say, hey, we heard there's this place called Versailles. And then you say, no, it's not Versailles, it's Versailles. And then you realize, oh my gosh, they got to me too.
They got to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, with a name like Rachel Kushner, you've got to be just a little bit Jewish.
Just a little bit.
All right.
I get my Jewish heritage from my dad's side of the family.
There you go. Yeah. So give us a little bit of background. Growing up, were you in a very Jewish community? Were you in a very Gentile community? What was that like for you?
So I grew up in a Messianic Jewish home, and sometimes people say, "Well, what in the world does that mean?"
Exactly.
So it just means that I grew up. Like I said, I get my Jewish heritage from my dad's side of the family. My mom was a Gentile, and she was awesome because she would learn the prayers in Hebrew. She would say the Shabbat prayers on Friday nights. So I kind of liked it. My sisters and I joke that we got the best of both worlds because we got to celebrate the quote unquote Christian holidays, Christmas, Easter, all those good things. But we also had the beautiful history of Passover, and we got to celebrate Hanukkah, Sukkot, all the fun things. And Shabbat dinners were always a special fun time because I can remember we would pull out our fancy dinnerware, and I would have a goblet, I felt so grown up, right, as a little kid drinking my grape juice from like a wine glass. I felt so sophisticated.
So your mom and dad were both believers?
Yes, my mom and dad were both believers. So my dad, in 1937 in Vienna, which if you know anything about history, being Jewish in 1937 in Vienna was a horrible time to be in Vienna, right? Because Hitler was coming. So 2 years later, he used to joke, I brought my parents to the United States when I was 2 in 1939. So my grandmother had to go through a lot of sneaky, paid off a lot of officials, did all kinds of things to get her paperwork for her family. They then took a boat, and they went from Vienna, and then they took a train to Italy. I can never remember the name of the town in Italy, but then they took a boat called the Rex, and we've actually looked it up, you can see on the I forget what they call it, not the itinerary, but they show you all the names of the people that were on the Rex, and my grandparents' name is on there.
Oh, wow.
And they came to the United States in 1939. All that to get to when my dad was in high school, he saw this guy was always carrying around his books, this guy named Larry, and on the top he always had his Bible. And my dad had a lot of life questions, and every time my dad would ask Larry these questions, Larry would open the Bible and have an answer. So it got my dad very curious, very interested, and very hungry for God's word. He got saved. His parents ended up getting saved. He and my mom met when he was a pastor. They had 3 kids and raised us in this Messianic Jewish home.
Was it confusing to kind of almost you're straddling both holiday sets and you're like, who am I? Am I Jewish? Am I? Because that was a lot of people were asking me. Well, you're Jewish, but you believe in Jesus. We didn't ever have the Christmas tree. It was in our house called the pagan bush because you know who over here. But so there's pretty clear delineation for us. Like you're Jewish, and we're not doing that thing over there. But what was that like? To sit in the middle of all of that?
Well, before we got rolling, I told you, we grew up in a very Catholic neighborhood.
Yeah.
So when I was little, I thought there are 2 people in the world. There are Catholics and there are Jews who believe in Jesus because that's all I knew when I was little, right?
Boy, were you in for a surprise.
Yeah, you aren't kidding. So my parents were in ministry. And so because of that, they enrolled us in a Christian high school because that was our congregation was so small. We didn't really have any opportunities to have Christian friends. So it was then that I sort of realized, oh, wait a minute, I am very different in the sense that most of the people who believe in Jesus, they are not Jewish.
Right.
So it was kind of a strange thing to straddle, but I think my parents just always did a good job of making sure that we understood our identity was in Christ.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to skip through big parts of your story of married, kids, all of that. You lead a ministry called
Yeah.
Links to Messiah.
Yes.
Why? What was the problem out there in the world that you decided the world needs something like this?
Well, spending so many years in, um, community churches, I don't know the best way to describe it, just like I'm a part of my neighborhood church here in Indiana. And over the years, I've just realized there's a lot of lack of instruction for families of small children to really sort of bridge the gap between the Old and New Testament and try to understand. Like, so Jesus celebrated Passover. What is Passover? Hanukkah is mentioned, right? Sukkot. There's all these Jewish holidays that are mentioned in the New Testament, but I think we can understand them in such a richer, deeper way if we understand what it's coming from.
Hmm.
So, understanding the Old and the New Testament are one big giant story of redemption.
Sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah, sounds
Yes.
kind of like Act 1 and Act 2.
Yeah. We
Right.
love that. We love that.
Kind of like that.
So you're really specifically trying to help equip families to be able to really bridge that gap.
Yeah, exactly. So the boxes are all revolving around Jewish holidays.
Mhm.
Not all feasts of the Bible. So, like we do 4 boxes a year. So our next box coming up is Purim, which, as you know, it's spelled Purim, pronounced Purim, like
Right.
Poor. That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
But as you know, it is the retelling of the book of Esther, which is such a beautiful story. And I especially love that book because God's name is not mentioned specifically in that book, but you see his hand woven throughout every chapter, every verse. He's there behind the scenes, and I just feel like it resonates with me because sometimes I'm like, where are you, Lord? But he's always working behind the scenes.
Yeah. You got something there?
Well, I'm just thinking as we're talking about this, how does Links to Messiah connect the Messiah from the Hebrew Scriptures to Yeshua, Jesus?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, really, what I'm doing is taking my own upbringing and putting it in a box and mailing it to people, right? So every box has something to touch on every sense. So there's something that you listen to, there's something that you read, there's an activity that you can get your hands on. For Purim, you write a spiel where you basically retell the story of Esther in whatever way you want. You can use your Barbie dolls or your Lego people or whatever it is. But every single box we're on, to answer your question, always points to Jesus, right? We're linking the Old and the New Testament to make those connections for children when they're young. And what I do like is it's also really helpful. The parents are learning right along with the kids as they experience everything.
Yeah, and I think a lot of parents, they're looking for something like this, and they want to be able to, I think they need it for themselves first.
Yes.
And it's the adage, and we talk about this in our home and our family, is that our kids are never going to see the promised land unless we've gone through the wilderness. And we have to, there are things that we can't actually lead them to a place that we haven't been ourselves. There's an author, his name's Henry Nouwen, and he says that the greatest gift that you can give to your children is the gift of you being a growing person yourself. And I love the idea that parents would love to be able to teach this, but they don't know the story. They don't know the background. And, we're doing a lot of what you're doing on an adult level, and have not necessarily brought that down to like, all right, well, this is how you teach your kids. You're going to have to, we say, now that you know this, go and do it. But now we can say, if you want to take this down to the next generation,
Yes.
this is how you're able to do that. And it's all right there in a box.
Well said. Yes. Thank you for that beautiful commercial.
There you go. Well, and that is the hope, right? And that is the responsibility, the mandate given to us is Lador Vidor, right? From generation to generation. How do we
Yes.
keep this story going? How do we
Yeah.
keep this story alive?
And you know, that generation to generation, that's something I love about all of the Jewish holidays, right? We're sitting around a table most usually because as Jews, we love to nosh,
Just a little bit.
but we're sitting around a table and we are retelling this story from years and years ago. But we have grandma and grandpa, we have cousins, we have aunts, we have uncles, we have babies, there's toddlers running around. It is all generations. It's a multi generational event.
Yeah.
A Shabbat dinner is a multi-generational event.
Yeah. And we're imparting a story, right? We love to tell stories.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not only linking to Messiah, but it's linking the whole family together.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
that'll
I like
preach.
that, Ron. Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, just a little side note, my maiden name is Lynx.
Ooh,
So when coming up with this name, God just put this little links to Messiah in my brain. And both of my parents are now with the Lord. But whenever I see my little logo and I see our family name, it's our family name, right? It's like being at a sports event and you see your family name on the back of the jersey. Like that's how I feel when I see it. And I get very emotional sometimes when I see it because I think, oh man, my dad would have had it like embroidered on his socks, his underwear. He would have been telling everybody, you know.
I love it. So you said the boxes come out. They come out 4 times a year. What are the? How do you choose which holidays or which are the things that you're? Are they all holiday based or is it around a
Mhm.
certain narrative or story?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they're typically around a holiday. Like for 2024, we're doing Purim, which is in March.
Hmm.
We're doing Passover, which is in April. And then in the summer, well, all year long, we have a Shabbat box available, but we'll do some more events kind of based around Shabbat.
Hmm.
And then we'll do a fall feasts box. Like last year, we did a Sukkot box. The year before that, we did a Rosh Hashanah box, which is the Jewish New Year.
Yeah.
So this year, I just want to do like a fall feasts box and have a little bit of everything in there. So that will probably change in 25. And then we'll also do a Hanukkah box.
Wow. You're a busy
Yeah, it's
lady.
fun. Oh, it's fun. I
You're gonna
love it.
you're gonna throw some apples and honey into that Rosh Hashanah box.
Well, do you know that the year we did the Rosh Hashanah box, because that's what we do. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. We take our apples, we dip them in honey because the new year will be sweet. God is sweet. There's so many beautiful connections there. But I did include little tiny jars for people to gift their friends so then the children are learning about Rosh Hashanah. They're putting their own honey. I didn't mail the honey with it. They put their own honey in there and give it as a gift to explain to their friends, their neighbors, their community, what is this Rosh Hashanah? What is this Jewish New Year?
Yeah. Why can't they just like so there's a family they're sitting around they go to church every Sunday and they're looking around and they're saying well we go to church we teach the kids the Bible we pray at meals why is it important that they would actually like go through this and really make this link or this attachment between the Old Testament and the New
Mhm.
Testament? What are they missing out on if they're not doing this and having this part of the family story?
Boy, that's a good deep question. And I think it's something that we discussed when you guys were on my podcast, and I'll give you full credit, Matt Davis,
Mm.
of how you talked about how there's like a hyperlink, right? You can explain it better, but I liked how you said when we're reading the New Testament, you see on the sides, there's all these little verses
Mhm.
that send you back to the Old Testament, and you explained it, it's like a hyperlink. So, in order to, I think, understand what Jesus was doing and what he was talking about and what the disciples were quoting, they were quoting Hebrew scriptures. They were quoting the Old Testament. So I think it's important to understand those connections at a young, early age with the hope and prayer. Like my prayer over every box is that the children that are experiencing this box will have a lifelong relationship with Jesus. Like that's what I want for families and to really understand the depth, the Jewish roots of our faith.
I love that. I realized I was traveling a couple weeks ago, and when I was gone, my wife and daughter started binge watching a show, right? Like on Netflix or one of those things. And so
Yeah.
they were already like 2 seasons deep, and I came home and they were into it, and they were just like, we got to keep watching this. So I sat down with them on the couch and I jumped in, and I'm like in the middle of season 2, and they are watching the show and they're connected to the characters, and I'm looking at this and like I see the characters, I'm like I'm noticing what they're doing, I sort of get the storyline, but I find like, well, what did I miss? There's
You're
so
missing
much,
so much.
right? There's this
Right.
context. Like, I don't know what this kid is doing and why he's doing it. I don't know what the family dynamic. Are those two people married or are they not married? Like, who's this person that keeps showing up in the house? And you start to
Yeah.
realize like there's this whole backstory that's missing. And I kept,
Right.
of course, being the obnoxious human that I am, I'm asking questions while the show is playing, and they keep, shh, not now, stop. Right?
Yeah,
They're
they loved
shushing.
that, I bet.
They love it, this, especially when I'm incessant about it. And we just ended up having to pause it. And I said, I need to understand what I'm watching. And I think that that is where we are at with the church, but we've
Great.
lost the curiosity. We just take the story at face value, and we don't even realize that we've come in halfway into the story. And when we
That's
can
a great
actually
way.
say, what am I missing? And so we want to, I think what I love about what you're doing and why it aligns so well with what we're trying to do is say, did you know that there's this other part of the story
Right.
that you don't know about? And
Right.
I feel like that's something that the world needs to know. They need to. We're missing out on something.
It's not
Yeah.
only that, but it's the Jewish people. They have no sense that half of the story is missing, and so there's not even an interest in them to make a connection between the two if we don't do it.
Yeah,
Right. We have to help along the way.
Right.
that's right.
So that's why these boxes are really intriguing. That helps families, kids, parents, all of the family engage
Yeah.
together and get the full story out there.
Yeah, and what's cool is I've had a lot of grandparents purchase the box for their grandkids. So the adult children are doing it with the grandkids, and then the grandparents come in and they're also learning. So again, it's this multi-generational compounding effect, if you will.
Yeah, as it should be. And I think that that's really the biblical model of how we're supposed to teach, right? Like you look
Right.
at Deuteronomy 6, and it's our responsibility. You're supposed to teach your children when you walk by the way, when you rise up, when you lie down, basically all the time. This is
Right.
what we're supposed to be doing. And I think sometimes we've subcontracted that out to the local congregation or the place down the street. And if we can actually move some of that, not to the exclusion of the church, but if we
Right.
can actually say this is what needs to take place in your home,
Yeah.
you're also equipping a conversation that needs to happen. Because I think a lot of families, they are Christians on Sunday and we live like atheists the rest of the week. So how do we actually
Yeah.
turn and change that conversation in such a way that we have a link with each other, we have a link with the Lord, and we
Yeah.
are bridging this gap to the entirety of the whole story.
Yes. Beautiful.
I love it. Your website is linkstomessiah.com,
Correct.
and you are the CEO, but that's not what we normally would know as CEO. What does CEO stand for in your world?
So in my world, I am the chief enthusiasm officer. That is my role.
So was this a self-proclaimed title, or did your husband give it to you?
Unfortunately, it is a self-proclaimed title.
All right. We felt this like within 5 seconds of jumping on your podcast. Where does all of this joy and chutzpah come from?
You know what? I just think God planted this crazy fun gene just inside of me, right? With a desire to, like, the two core values at Links to Messiah are learning and fun, right? Because I think there is so much fun to be had when we're learning the Bible. It does not have to be boring. It's a very exciting book with lots of fun stories. I mean, I was the kid who at 10 years old in my neighborhood was like doing fairs for little kids, having all the neighborhood children come,
Right.
and I had games and prizes and we were face painting. So it's like I've just always I don't know, teaching and being with kids is just something that God innately has gifted me with.
Yeah, well, and Mary Poppins had it right? You need a little bit of spoonful of sugar to help the
right.
medicine go down. And sometimes when we're preparing, we're studying for something, we'll take a little quick break for a tickle fight. And that's how we love to make it happen at the Jewish Road. Isn't that right?
I would like to, I'd like to, a visual. We need a reel of that happening.
You'd like to see that?
You get him, Ron.
We're going to have to edit that one out.
You just, Mary Poppins thing, we just got to not hold on to the umbrella too tight.
Oh, that's good. If somebody wants to follow you, we have links to Messiah.com, but where else can we find you out in the world? And what's, you said Purim is coming up, so is it too late? Because that's in March. It's we're February right now, but when are all the windows? Tell me what I need to know.
Okay, so there are so many fun things coming up.
Oh,
I know we just talked about being fun, but I am so sincere when I say it. Right now, if you go to the Links to Messiah website and you click on the resources tab, I have tons of freebies for families, for Purim and for Passover.
Okay.
So there's coloring pages, there's crossword puzzles, there's mazes, there's a Red Sea craft, which is awesome. You get to cut out the little people and you cut out the little dry ground that the Israelites walked on. Lots and lots of fun things. So that's one thing. And actually, just today, we released a Purim homeschool curriculum. It's $10, and it is the best $10 you'll ever spend.
What a deal!
It's for elementary school aged kids. And the way you would find that currently is you go to my Instagram page, which is Links to Messiah, and there's a link in my bio. It's not on the website yet, but we're getting there, one thing at a time.
Yeah, you can only.
And then we got the Purim boxes coming up. It is not too late to buy them. There will be a deadline. There's a limited amount of them because I have to buy everything ahead of time and plan and blah, blah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there are some Purim boxes still available.
That's great. Well, Rachel, you're our new best friend. I'm thankful that you're right up the road from us, and we'll get to do more. Maybe. My dad used to be a hand model, so maybe if you ever need somebody like cutting out crafts or something like that.
Oh, wonderful!
He's lying again.
Tickle fight ensues.
No, stop. Well, so thankful to have you on the Jewish Road podcast, and we will certainly be getting together soon in person.
Yes.
And we will have, if you're looking for this and all this stuff, and you don't know how to type in linkstoMessiah.com, then you can go to our podcast page, and in the show notes we'll put all those links there.
Perfect. All the links will be there to links.
The links to the links.
The link for the link.
There we go.
Hey, I like that.
I appreciate you guys. You're a lot of fun, and I feel this instant connection to both of you, and I'm really grateful for that. And it's so cool to just meet somebody online and feel so connected in the Lord.
Well, as my Jewish mother used to say, what's not to be connected to?
What's not to be connected to, Ron? That's right.
Did she really say that?
No.
No. Okay. Because I remember you said something about that.
Yeah. Well, she used to say, when people say, I love you, my Jewish mother would say, what's not to love?
There you go.
What's not to love? Yes.
And also say, don't ever take any wooden nickels.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that means, but anyway.
It's a generation removed.
Yeah. Well, Rachel, thanks for being here. We love you, and we will get to see you very soon. Shalom.
Shalom. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Ron.